Rami Khouri is co-director of global engagement at the American University of Beirut. You're joining us from Cambridge, Massachusetts today. Rami, thank you for your time. It's good to have you on the show. This rapid expansion of settlements that we're seeing, that has been decided upon by the Israeli government, isn't that exactly what this Netanyahu government was built to do?
Yes, it is, and it's really significant in two ways, politically and historically. Historically, Zionism, which started over a century ago, has aimed to create a Jewish state, which it did, and to make it an exclusively Jewish state as much as possible by driving out Palestinians. So you have now this convergence of a very right-wing Israeli government, huge support from the settlement community, which creates gangs of thugs who go around burning Palestinian villages and killing Palestinians, settlers, and their army often supports them. And this is supported internationally by donors to this exercise and the acquiescence and pretty much silence of the major powers of the world and the UN, as we just heard. They say this is not acceptable, but they don't do anything about it. So this is an incredibly unusual mixture of very volatile elements that have allowed this now to happen in the last 9 months or a year or so since the government has been in power. And politically, this is really significant potentially because the Netanyahu government is essentially sticking its finger in the eye of the American government and Biden and telling them to say what they want. They can go to hell. We don't respect the United States government. We don't listen to what it tells us. We're going to do what we want. There's a kind of audacity and a bravado to the Zionist enterprise today in its violent, messianic, extremist form that we see in not just government support for settlement expansion, but army support for the armed settlers who go around killing Palestinians. Just a few weeks ago, 200 people from the Palestinian village of Ain Samia were thrown out of their village. They picked up and left because they kept getting attacked by Israeli settlers. And that's the aim of Zionism. State.
Rami, as Israel continues to build settlements, is there a point of no return, and maybe we're already past it, I don't know, beyond which it just becomes materially impossible to even consider a two-state solution with a Palestinian state and an Israeli state living side by side?
I don't think it's ever materially impossible. If there's a political decision to pull back some of the settlements in the West Bank, and you keep the ones along the border and exchange property, which the Palestinians and the Israelis have essentially agreed to do over many negotiations. This Israeli government doesn't want to do that. But you could, in theory, still have a two-state resolution. But there's no sign that the Israelis want to do this. They just want to keep building and building and building. And they've control of the settlement process to the finance minister, Smotrich, who's a very extreme, violent, fascist man. And therefore, if the international community does not somehow get involved, as it did in Northern Ireland, as it did in South Africa, as it did in other cases of really difficult conflicts, there's no international involvement. The Israelis will keep doing what they've been doing for 100 years, which is dispossessing Palestinians, evicting them, and creating a single Jewish majority, or what they might as an exclusively Jewish state. So nobody can predict how this is going to play out. But this is a moment of reckoning because of these forces of extremism in Israel that are in the government and in the settler community, acquiescence and silence internationally, and helplessness on the Palestinian side and the Arab side. And that's why you're getting these spontaneous resistance attacks by young Palestinians who go around shooting Israeli settlers because it's the only thing left for them to do.
Rami Khouri at the American University of Beirut, thank you so much for joining us today.